All right, we're back. Welcome to another episode of the newly revamped Pickle Pod with pro Zane Nabertil.
What's going on?
And myself, Thomas Shields.
You don't have a title? Just Thomas Shields?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if I'm just like a glorified commenter, basically.
Glorified commenter.
Yeah.
Thomas Shields. That's your new intro, homie.
Yeah, I'm like a social media commenter. I just like built a blog and social media presence around it. So people are forced to listen to my opinions.
You cram it down their throat if they don't. I see you everywhere on social. The dink. Every time I'm on the gram, something or another is coming up.
Part of it is like I want to separate myself from the brand, but then with like a podcast like this, I inevitably insert myself back into it.
Fair.
What'd you think of the first episode?
Well, got a lot of critiques on me being wrong. It's like, wow, everybody must have been watching that.
The fact checker needs to be fact checked.
Exactly. Like, when is Zane going to say something incorrect that I can comment on? And like, it's not enough for just one person to comment on it, right? It's like everybody.
Yep.
So yes, guys, I was wrong, but remember this lesson. If you aren't sure about something, double down.
Yeah.
Because
it's the Trump mentality.
I doubled down, and then you're like, okay, he must be right. He really is. But no, I wasn't, apparently.
You said it with certainty. We're talking about the Ben had the chance to take Colin, but chose Tyler Loon. And you said Colin wasn't on the board, but he was.
Okay. So Colin wasn't on the board, but he was. Mm-hmm. I still think Ben chooses Loon over Colin.
Why?
Because I think they're complementary in a very similar way in men's doubles, where Tyler is a really good right-sided player, obviously as a lefty over there, and then I think that Tyler is a better mixed doubles player, pretty much without a doubt, better mixed doubles partner. So I think fitting that team where mixed doubles is obviously half of the matches that you're going to play, I think is really important. And so you might sacrifice, Tyler might be 10% worse in his role with Ben than Colin is, but Tyler's might be 25% better in his mixed doubles role. So I think it's still a good pick.
Well, I think the obvious answer too is singles.
Singles
as well.
Ability. But Colin's a pretty solid singles player.
But Tyler's like a good singles. I mean, you could argue, right?
Yeah.
He's had big wins over like Ben, for example.
True. Colin's not a slouch singles player. Colin can play some decent singles.
Yeah.
He can rip some lefty forehands. There's nothing worse. I haven't played Colin in a while, but there's nothing
you played
worse.
Him in singles before?
Yeah. Nothing worse than hitting it over to his backhand and the guy just takes one hand off and rips a lefty forehand.
Yeah.
He does that stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't dare do it with Ben, but he does it in singles.
Yeah. And one of the other comments we got was that this is like a Star Wars background. Some people didn't like that. So deal with it as my response to that one.
Fair. I think we should turn these lights red. Because
they were green last time.
They were green last time.
Yeah.
I think we should go. I think we should go red for sure.
I want to shout out to our top commenters on YouTube were Grant Harris, Sorry Not Sorry Pickleball, and Chad. I'm gonna mess this up. Lacatus.
I read it as lactates.
But well, he's not our top commenter anymore.
Sorry, Chad.
So we see you. Thank you. Keep commenting. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, let me know what else I'm wrong about.
Yeah, here's our agreement with the listeners. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a review, subscribe, follow. If you're on YouTube, add a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
And also, so here, we'll do this. I'm giving this one to you, but this is like here, we'll open it up. We're going to pick one person who leaves a review and adds a comment, and I'm going to send them one of these. So this is actually like a pretty nice little dink pullover. Let's see, make sure we get it in the camera.
Look at that.
This one's a medium because you're schmedium. That one's for you.
I'll grow into it. Now, here's the thing. Chris we're gonna go back to that other podcast.
You can throw that on the floor. You don't have to do anything with that.
He sent me one of these, and it smelled like vinegar.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. It smelled like vinegar. This is the test.
Right. Smells delightful.
I wouldn't say delightful, but it doesn't smell like vinegar. So get your dink pullover that doesn't smell like vinegar. Do whatever he said. I already forgot what he said you had to do.
Yeah,
but
comment. We're going to choose, so one person who comments, and you got to be subscribed, or you can leave a review on Spotify. I'm going to go with this. If you comment on the YouTube channel and you leave a review on Apple Pods or Spotify, I'll just go and check, and I'll just choose somebody to send this poll over to. You can't buy them. They're not out there. They're not available. These are exclusive. These are for the insiders.
Love it.
We'll do more stuff like that. I've also got like a bunch of paddles, so I don't know. People send us stuff all the time.
Nice.
I don't have enough room in my tiny apartment.
There we go.
Okay, so we talked about a number of what I would call inconsistencies last episode, but I want to make this section of the podcast called loopholes. Okay.
Ooh.
So
I feel like you're talking to the right guy.
Yeah, exactly. Gaps in the rules where you can kind of exploit those for an advantage, and are things that I would assume are going to be addressed down the road but haven't yet been addressed, and so people are taking advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite person who likes to point these out. I mean, you've done it on the grand stage, and actually made it a huge part of your game with the Zane saw. What was your favorite name for that serve, by the way? There were a lot of them.
I liked the Zane saw because the chainsaw I think sounds great, but then giving some credit to me was pretty cool. So I liked the Zane saw. What else even was there? It feels like so long ago.
Well, there was the chainsaw, there was the Zane saw. People just called it the spin serve.
The spin serve.
I feel like there were a bunch of other names, and I had a whole list at one point, but I don't know. The one that really stuck out to me was the Zane saw. Is the best one. That's
Agreed.
my opinion.
Agreed. R.I.P.
But
maybe they'll bring it back.
One of my favorite people who likes to exploit, find these little inconsistencies and exploit them, is Shea Underwood,
mm-hmm.
and he makes videos about them. So one of the ones he did recently, did you see this video where it's hand is part of the paddle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's been in a match where it's a quick exchange, and somebody hits the ball with their hand that's holding the grip, and they're hand's part of the paddle. Play goes on. Shea is doing this thing where he's literally with the hand that holds the paddle, using his fingers to just hit the ball with his hand, and manipulating the spin and the direction of the ball. What do you think about that? I think there were some interesting comments on why that wouldn't be legal, but as far as I can tell, technically it would be legal for you to just use your hand to smack the ball mid-play.
As long as it's still sort of attached to the paddle, right?
Yeah.
So the hand has to be touching the paddle.
Yep.
So right hand touching the paddle, and you're going to hit with your right hand.
Yep.
I don't see why not. I think it gets dicey where you are having multiple points of contact with the ball, right? The same way that it could be a carry if you were to just tap the ball to yourself and then hit it over. That's pretty common if you ever try to just hit a ball with your hand. It's going to hit your palm, and then it might roll up your fingers and sort of shoot over towards the opponent. So, however, I actually don't know the rule on what a carry.
So it says carry. Hitting the ball in such a way that it does not bounce away from the paddle, but is carried along on the face of the paddle.
But isn't that
so if it hits just your hand, it doesn't even touch the paddle, so this wouldn't apply. This definition would not apply.
Hand is part of the paddle, so I think that it would apply.
But it says paddle, it says the face of the paddle.
Face of the paddle? I don't know. I think that's just I would guess that's just an incorrect wordage used, because
which isn't uncommon.
Yeah, well, yeah, but a carry, you can hit the ball multiple times,
yeah,
right, and it can still be considered legal. I don't know what the actual rule is, but the way I see it kind of interpreted by referees is almost a level of intent, right?
Yeah.
Does it look like this person is trying to hit in two different shots, or does it look like it just got caught on the paddle face and it wasn't part of their intent.
Right.
And so if that's going to apply then to hitting it with your hand, a referee might say, yeah, it kind of looked like they were trying to do it in that way. It wasn't just an accident that happened.
Right.
But again, I don't think that's anywhere in the rule book. I don't know. Maybe I should have read the rules again before this.
It comes down. Yeah. So it comes down to ref's discretion, right? Like, what do they interpret as what you're trying to do?
Yeah. But I think if you hit it clean, like if you have hit it with your hand, let's see. Toss the video on if you guys aren't already. But
yeah, go to Shea Underwood's Instagram. It's like I think he pinned it to the top of his profile. It's kind of recent.
So if I hit it, let's say with my fingers right here sticking off the paddle, and it's like a clean hit, I don't have a problem with it. Go for it. But then again, here's the thing.
But
I think that you should be able to hit with whatever part of your body you want. So I think the rule should be changed to hit however you want.
You like kick it.
Yeah, why not?
You know, like in volleyball, you see people like basically like slide tackle to save a ball.
Yeah.
And like put it back in play.
Why not?
Yeah. But then what if people got so good at it that they just stopped using the paddle?
Oh, interesting.
I don't think that would happen.
And then you could have like really gritty shoes, so you can put a whole bunch of spin on it.
Yeah,
There you
exactly,
go.
Right. Now we're opening a whole nother section of the rule book.
Yeah, we might have just broke pickleball.
I think it was already broken.
I wasn't gonna say it, but
yeah,
I wasn't gonna say it.
Okay. Because and then there was. Did you see one of the recent PPAs? Ryan Sherry's playing Pesa, and I think it was like match point and
match ball.
Yeah, match rally.
Did they? On a side note, did they stop saying match ball again after they caught so much crap from the memes of pickleball page?
I had never even heard them say that.
They had one tournament where they were really doubling down on saying match ball.
Okay, side tangent. We were watching in Mesa. We were watching one of the semifinal matches or whatever. And we're sitting there and it's like, okay, it's rally scoring. So is there any reason to call side out? Because the serve does change hands, but then you're saying side out almost like every point essentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a ref. I don't even know if you really need to say it in a regular game. I think all the players already know if it's going to be a side out.
Yeah, right. It just becomes like another reason for the ref to talk and another thing for them to like have to keep track of.
There you go.
Yeah. But so Ryan Sherry's playing Pesa. Ryan hits a passing shot. Pesa's kind of tracking it down. So he's got like basically his back to the net and he scoops the ball, but it's like one motion and it goes back in and Ryan tries to like stop play right in the middle of the point. He's like, no, stop. And then he starts appealing to the ref. And then there's sort of this debate and then Pesa kind of goes, okay, fine. And then the match just like ends. Did you see that?
I can't say that I did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Was that last Thursday in Mesa?
No, I think this was maybe like 2 PPAs ago. But it was like it was just like a really weird moment where, I mean, technically it was one motion, but it came down to just the players and the ref just being like, all right, fine. It was a weird moment.
Yeah, I would think if Pesa is in that situation ready to concede the point, I would guess, without seeing this, I would guess he knew that he actually carried it.
Yeah.
And he carried it intentionally.
Yeah.
And again, I think a lot of these things, whether it's in the rules or not, do come down to intent.
Right.
And you can kind of see whether somebody is making multiple motions at the ball or not.
Yeah, because he wrapped, so his paddle starts moving away from the net so he can wrap around the ball and then he scoops it back. And it was a very weird, like I had never seen it before.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah. Our Jamie is Mitch. So we like Mitch. Pull that up. Put it in post. Yeah. In post, put that in there.
Can we still just call him Jamie?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, Mitch, no offense, but you're Jamie now.
Actually, when we said that we're accepting interns, how many people did you reach out to you about that?
No, I didn't see anybody reach out.
Really?
Did people reach out to you?
I had 3 or 4 people actually reach out to me about wanting to get involved in the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I bet like in our message requests, which we don't always go through, there were probably some, but none in the primary.
Unreal.
So I mean, maybe we're still hiring for that. Yeah. All right, Shea Underwood again.
Oh,
Have you seen the clip where he does the like the screens, right?
Yeah.
Where him and his partner like coordinate. Essentially, you screen the opponents from being able to see the ball, and then at the last moment, the guy standing in front of his partner moves, and then the guy behind him actually like makes a shot.
Yeah, that's pretty epic, and that's pretty. That would be very, very difficult to deal with. Now he's done some research on this. Hindrance, although again, it's another like intent thing. This happens all the time, but nobody's ever trying to do it.
Right.
This is the first time somebody's actually just trying to.
Yeah, because it does happen where like people are scrambling. Like in last weekend, somebody hit a ball at, it was either Deckel or AJ, and the other like threw his legs,
Jamie.
and the other person was behind him. So technically, it would have been like a screen, but it just wasn't intentional.
Yeah, that was a pretty sweet get by AJ. I know which one you're talking about this time. I don't know how I feel about it, because
I mean,
it'd be super tough to.
You're super hateable if you pull that.
Oh, for sure. But the closest thing, did you know that people have been doing this before?
What?
In professional matches, people were doing
screens?
Actual screens. So
Jamie?
back in the chainsaw era, Jamie, pull this up.
Yeah.
Brian Ashworth's Facebook. Austin Gridley was playing with, I think it was Mario Barrientos at some local tournament up in the PN Dub, and Gridley had the spin serve, right? Yeah. He was flicking it off of his hands, and there's a very obvious tell. You flick it this way, it goes this way. Like you can tell. If you can see the ball, you can tell where it's going. However, he had Mario standing in front of him while he was tossing the ball up. So Mario would be screening.
Right. I think I did see this. Yeah.
So this actually happened, and they didn't do anything about it.
They're probably like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, because like honestly, if I was the opponent, the only thing that would surprise me is when Gridley's kick serve doesn't move at all. That's the surprising part.
Yeah.
Right? You think, okay, this is going to do something, and then it just comes straight, and that's what really screws you up.
So let's talk about serves in general, because I think one of the things that's been a discrepancy lately, and a lot, I would say, in amateur play is the serve being below the waist, right? Like I think a lot of people point to Tyson McGuffin's serve often, like where he comes up on his toes when he makes contact. So the ball is sometimes like right at his waist essentially, but he makes that upward motion and he has a great serve. But a lot of people always point to that. They're like, this is illegal. And I see it a lot in rec play, but much more, I would say, like exaggerated in rec play. And it happens so fast. It's like, what do you even do? Like, how do you even officiate that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are borderline. I mean, I was watching George's serve in that mixed doubles final. It's pretty high. Deckel's is obviously high. I'm serving higher and higher. Tyson's some of Tyson's are from his nipples, dude. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, Tyson is serving from the tits.
You were dancing around that for a little bit there.
But it's not always. So it's kind of tough because you have to be on your toes as a ref. To the contact point isn't always the exact same. But I think all three elements of the serve rule currently are very difficult to enforce, even if you were able to do an instant replay.
And a ref has to watch them all at once.
All at once. So you need to be serving in an upwards motion at the point of contact, meaning I can be swinging downwards and then just until the point of contact, and then I'm swinging up.
Yeah.
So that's tough to deal with, especially with people who are hitting slice serves. The top part of your paddle has to be below the level of your wrist, right? So I can't have
We're bringing a paddle every time. This is great.
Yeah. So if my paddle is like this, the top part of my paddle is above the level of my wrist. This in theory should be illegal.
Really? But most people are flattening it out at contact because they're coming over it.
Most people are dropping the paddle head down lower and brushing up. So if you're getting topspin on the ball,
then you kind of
you're coming up and over, but you come over the ball after you've made contact.
But okay, and this might lead into the next topic. Like if the paddle has a lot of dwell time or deflection, like that point of contact is either longer or shorter depending on the type of paddle, right?
Sure, but that's a much smaller. That's I think we're talking about very, very small fractions of a second in that case.
Yeah.
Where I still think even a paddle with a really long dwell time, you're not really the ball isn't staying on the paddle for a large portion of your swing.
Right.
So all three elements of the serve rule are subjective and impossible to. How many times have you seen on pickleball forums somebody's like, "Is this serve illegal?" And they'll send a screenshot of the point of contact. And
Yep.
even when you have a picture of the point of contact, you can't tell where this person's waist is. You can't tell whether the paddle is moving at an upwards motion at the point of contact. And you can't tell where the paddle is always in relation to the wrist. Like it's just an impossible rule to enforce. So I think Steve Paranto has been a big advocate and proponent of the
Who's
drop.
that? Who's Steve Paranto?
Steve Paranto is kind of an OG pickleballer. I think he lives up in Washington area, and has just been around the game for forever. I think his dad was actually the inventor of the first composite pickleball paddles.
Okay.
And I say I think that. So if you guys decide to fact check me on this, please do.
You can fact check this too. I think the first composite paddle was made out of parts from like a Boeing airplane because he was like a airplane engineer. I'm not going to fact check that one.
I don't know. Let's just make more stuff up. What is true and what is false about this podcast? But Steve's just a guy who's been around the sport for forever.
Yeah.
And he's been a big advocate of the drop serve for a long time, and I think he's a big reason of why the drop serve came to be part of the rules as well. Mm-hmm. And then not only do referees need to enforce the three elements of the out of the air serve, they're also theoretically needing to police a drop serve at the exact same time. When I go up to the line, you don't know whether I'm going to hit an out of the air or a drop serve. Mm-hmm. So I would agree with Steve. I think that the out of the air serve should just be gone, because when you utilize a drop serve, the only thing that a referee has to police is your hand in a stationary position as you're dropping the ball.
Right.
And that's easy, right?
Yeah.
We can tell. And then I can hit the ball however I want.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Some people have some like legit drop serves too. I mean, because there's just more room for innovation in a drop serve because you can just do more with your like swing path.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't actually see any advantage in a drop serve right now. You can still achieve slice and side spin when serving out of the air. I don't think that the advantage of a drop serve is. I don't think there's much advantage of a drop serve over an out of the air serve. I don't think you can get a tremendous amount more spin on a drop serve than out of the air. And also, if you're utilizing a drop serve, the ball is going to bounce way lower too. You're gonna be making contact far lower than Tyson's nipples. So I think that's once we said goodbye to the chainsaw, now I'm all in on drop serve only.
Yeah, you should. I feel like if you just spent a week just trying to hit the most wicked drop serve, you'd figure something out.
I mess around with the drop serves for sure. Like, but then again, we can't even use them at the PPA.
Really?
We can't. No.
I wonder why. It was just kind of one of those things. Like, they made the rule a while back, and
I think that there's been.
It's worth noting too that sometimes there's differences in amateur versus pro rules, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
I think that would be an example of one, because in an amateur PPA you can use the drop serve.
Correct. Yep. There's rumored room for abuse of the drop serve. So from what I understand,
okay,
the rule is, and maybe I'm just BSing here, but the rule is vague enough where you could drop the ball, kick it up to yourself, and then hit it from your forehead or your head or something. Like, that's actually been something that's
physically kick it with your foot?
Yeah. Kick it up to your, because it says, basically the rule is like, once you drop the serve, it's like anything goes.
Dude.
And it just it's been actually debated in some ref circles. And I've had some conversations with some refs where it's like, yeah, there's actually, you really could abuse this rule.
Right.
And now I'm sure at that point, Mark Pfeiffer, Don Stanley, or somebody or another is going to be like, okay, just don't do that.
Yeah, just stop, please, guys.
just please.
Yeah.
But at least the way it's written, there is potential for abuse, and I don't know whether you would actually get away with it or not. I've never actually tried it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, serve rule's broken. Let's fix it again.
Yeah. I think it's just safe to say, like, this rule book is very much a work in progress. And we'll continue to figure out all the ways you can exploit it.
Yeah, honestly, I need like a lawyer to go through this for me and be like, exactly. Okay, well, there's some.
Right. Because it's all about the language and
exactly
how you're phrasing things.
For sure.
A lot of room for interpretation right now.
Matt Wright and we'll go carve through it.
It's your boy.
It's my boy.
Okay, so we touched on it a little bit, but I think the hot topic, and we're going to put something out tomorrow on it. We're going to include something in the newsletter, and then we're going to put a blog out. But dwell time, all of a sudden, or deflection, because we talked about it last week, and I basically had never heard of it. You knew what it was. You were kind of explaining it, and then very timely, did you see Annalie's tweet after she played a match? And I don't know who she was playing against. I don't know what the paddle was that person was using, but she won the match. She tends to do. But then she tweeted out, first paddles were illegally having too much grit. Now they're illegally having too much deflection, which is the same thing as dwell time. Paddle testing needs to be implemented with not just grit, but deflection as well.
Not necessarily the same thing. From what I understand, deflection is basically just how quickly the ball comes off the paddle. Dwell time is how long the ball stays on the face of the paddle.
Okay.
And they're highly correlated.
Yeah, because they're a product of the same thing, essentially. Like, you would, in order to test either of those things, you would be testing with this compression test that USA, we're going to put out a blog. You should look at a picture. Jamie, put it in the picture. It's like an industrial sized drill to test deflection of a paddle. And it's all based on like applying weight and seeing what like the compression level is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I don't know how we're going to be able to test all these different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially on site.
Right. On site. And actually now there's timing issues too. So what is stopping a company from making a paddle that passes, right? It can legitimately pass.
Yeah.
But if we're smart, why don't we make a paddle that deteriorates effectively?
Yep.
Right?
I think a lot of them do.
Yeah, it deteriorates in a way that actually makes its playability better.
Yeah.
And so it passes, and then, even if USA Pickleball does the same process they did at Nationals, where you have to have a sticker at the beginning of the tournament to say, hey, this paddle has been tested. Well, now I could go home and I could beat my paddle with a hammer if that's what it takes, or put it in the microwave or whatever it does to make this paddle better. And
don't put your paddles in the microwave, please. If you do, we don't encourage it.
If you do, tag us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Tag us on Instagram for sure.
Definitely want to see it, but we are not encouraging it.
Yeah. So now it's almost like you need to be able to do all of these tests immediately after a match is completed, or at least randomly. Like I think that random testing is enough of a deterrent.
Yeah, right.
Should be enough of a deterrent.
Yeah.
But we're testing a lot of things now. We're testing, I don't think we're testing hardly anything effectively enough yet. Even I still think that the friction, the whatever RZ, the surface roughness is still an issue. I still don't think that you can say that you're going to test it, but I still don't think that the test is effective.
Well, one of the things that, and I don't know if so at Pro Pickleball on Instagram, I think whoever runs that is pretty affiliated with USA Pickleball.
I think it's Carl. Carl Schmitz runs Pro Pickleball, and I think now Carl is I don't know exactly what his title is, but he's very involved in the paddle compliance stuff.
Well, he's using we. He's saying we as if he's associated with USA Pickleball, but
he is.
To your point, there still isn't effective testing for surface roughness. And there isn't effective testing for dwell time, particularly not on site, right? Because you need this big, massive device. The surface roughness is the stare-at test right now. But he commented on a clip of you and I talking about dwell time the other week. He said, we'll be upgrading to an optical scanning platform for surface features as reported last year, replacing the stare-at. Also implementing a portable tensile tester for deflection testing at pro events. All paddles are tested for deflection, roughness, COF. I don't know what that is.
Coefficient of friction?
Pretty good. If that's
maybe
it,
that was
good
good
for you.
I like to think that that's a good guess.
During certification. But still, during certification would be when you get that USAPA stamp. And as we just said, dwell time increases as the paddle is used, right? So that still wouldn't address that. The compliance continues. The compliance program has been made more robust to address the flood of new paddles. So it sounds like they're taking steps to improve both of those. But in doing so, aren't they just admitting that the tests right now are completely fallible?
I don't know. Let's get them on here. That could be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Well, I sent them an email, so hopefully they get back.
Yeah, that'd be good because I think we could have an interesting conversation with them.
Yeah. And so with dwell time, so it increases with paddle usage. At least that's what a lot of people are saying, right? As the paddle gets worn in, the paddle face isn't as rigid, and dwell time, and then I guess deflection increases.
It really kind of depends on the paddle and on the materials. I don't think that that's something that we can say across the board is true. Some paddles go dead the longer you hit with them.
Yeah,
some paddles,
that's for sure.
Some paddles.
Nobody talks about that, by the way. So many paddles go dead.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Almost all of them at this point.
Yeah. And a lot of people can't tell when their paddle goes. So my dad, I'm not going to put this brand on blast, but he swears by this brand. And so I'm always give me your paddle. I'm going to play with it and tell you if it's dead or not. Because he needs to change his paddles way more than he is. And if you don't know how to feel for that, you could be playing with a dead paddle. It could be seriously affecting your game.
For sure. What's your test for a dead paddle?
I just swing and hit with it. I mean, you can just tell.
You can just tell.
Personally,
there you go,
can
guys.
Tell.
If you have a dead paddle, you can just tell. There we go. Science.
We're Pickle Pod, all about science here.
So
all about data.
My tests are shake it. If there's a rattle, that means something's come loose in the honeycomb, and one piece of your honeycomb is broken. It means that the rest of your honeycomb is probably breaking down. Mm-hmm. And also, if your edge guard is coming loose, you can just super glue it. and you need to super glue it, because if your edge guard is coming loose, it really throws off your entire paddle. If you hit anywhere close to that edge guard when your edge guard is loose, it's going to give you a dead response. But you really can legitimately fix it just by putting a little bit of super glue back on there.
You
there you go.
Here first.
I just saved you probably $100 at least, depending on what paddle. I guess Selkirks aren't having that problem without the edge guard though. Some of them have the edge guard, but
and we're just seeing like more and more paddles without them. But another thing so maybe this is more deflection related. Well, it would be dwell time too. But it changes the sound that the ball makes when it makes contact with the paddle, which apparently, according to Rob Nunnery, players rely on sound in quick exchanges. And that changes basically how you interpret where the ball is going to go.
For sure. Actually, that's a really important observation, and it is true, because you can't really see in real time where the ball is hitting on the paddle, but you can hear whether or not it sounds clean.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so some of these paddles that are deteriorating effectively, they sound really hollow. They sound louder. They sound kind of like a gearbox, right? You know how a couple years ago, gearbox had a really distinct sound compared to any other paddle?
Because a lot of their paddles, it just seemed like it was just like a plank of wood, basically. It didn't have a ton of like interior.
Sure.
Again, more science.
But I'm just saying the sound is different from any other paddle. Like these juiced up paddles sound a little bit more hollow. They sound a little louder, and when you hit it off center, it doesn't give you that same shanky sound. So I don't think Rob's wrong there. And that sound kind of it kind of hides potential mishits as well.
So I don't think there's anything you can do about it. It's just like another interesting like nuance of this whole thing. And then the last thing is like it changes the way the ball leaves the paddle, like the angle.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Just having I don't know if I'd agree with that. Like,
that is deflection, right? Isn't that what you were explaining as
deflection? Is how
deflection?
Quickly it comes off of the paddle.
Okay,
right. So it wouldn't change the angle necessarily at which it comes off the paddle.
Well, no. If the paddle has more give, right? Like if I'm swinging at a slight angle, if it's more rigid, it's more likely to go directly in that, like directly with my swing path. If there's more give, it will come off at more of an angle because the paddle face basically envelops the ball.
Sure. I don't think that that's noticeable. I don't think that the change in angle is noticeable. At least it's not anything that I've ever noticed.
I'm hearing differently.
Cite your sources, homie.
Well, so it's because it's not my source, but Kim on our team was talking to, I think, Lee Whitwell, who was saying like there was a paddle. She was playing against somebody with one of these paddles, not a pro and not in tournament, but just like in rec. And it was like, it was insane the way the ball was coming off the paddle because of the like insane amount of deflection or possibly dwell time in this case.
I think it definitely changes the way that the ball comes off the paddle, but I haven't noticed any difference in direction. So, but it also could be a different paddle that I've never seen. So it's not something that I've seen, but it's plausible.
Why do you think dwell time and deflection is all of a sudden like a thing?
Because I think it's the most recent way of getting an advantage through your equipment.
Yeah.
Last year it was all about RZ and spin, right? And it still is important.
And is RZ the metric that you test for?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell RZ
surface
is.
roughness.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It's whatever metric they're like using for this whole thing.
Right.
That's like the 40 when you take the 6 points of the paddle and then you average them out. It needs to be below 40.
Correct, I believe
in
so.
RZ.
We're going to have a lot of fact checks on this episode.
But dude, this is the thing is like, okay, so everybody else who's listening to this knows much less than we do. I mean, of course there are exceptions, but like if we're on the front lines of this, I'm talking to these people, I'm talking to these manufacturers, I'm talking to people at USA Pickleball, and I still don't know. You're playing on the tours and you still don't know. Isn't that like an issue? I mean, imagine if you're just a rec player, like I don't even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I mean, but I also don't think it necessarily affects an average person nearly as much, right? I'm trying to, if I can get 1% more out of my paddle, like that's huge. Where if you're an amateur player, just go work on your hands. Like that's more important. I mean, I should probably work on my hands too, yeah. But it does. I don't think it doesn't have the same impact at that level, and you don't need to care about it as much. Like my dad uses one of those original carbon paddles, one of the ones that was probably very illegal. He's like, yeah, I like it. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you do. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I can't really tell why, but it feels great. Like, I bet it does. Meanwhile, he's out here like just dicing up some 4-0s in Racine, Wisconsin. So, but he's not playing any tournaments. He's not making any money off of it. So it doesn't really matter to him.
Yeah, right. But there's a lot of this stuff where you can get these advantages here, advantages there, and it could just make you a better rec player. And there's really just like no way to enforce that in a casual tournament or like league play or whatever.
No, probably not. But I mean, you get to the point, it's like, I suppose it's like golf, where if you're just going out and playing with your buddies, you could go use illegal clubs.
Yeah.
Like your buddies might not like it, but like, what are they going to do?
Right.
It's the same idea.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not playing actually competitively, it's like who really cares at that point?
Yeah. But I think there's certain paddle brands that stand out in these conversations. I think one of the most recent is this like legacy paddle that people are talking about. And I was playing with Grant Bond in Mesa, and he was using the legacy paddle, and he had a forehand. It absolutely rocketed off the ball. But if he didn't come over it right, it was like long gone, right? Like it would leave the fencing. But when he did hit it right, it was like, I'm just going to stick out my paddle and hope for the best.
Yeah. I've been playing against some of those recently. And Grant was actually here in Austin a couple weeks ago. And, love Grant. He's not exactly like the hardest hitter, right? He's not the hardest hitter. Neither am I. There's nothing wrong with that.
He was when he was using this paddle.
That guy was bagging me from the baseline.
Yeah.
Like he would just take a third shot. He actually, it was kind of funny. He murdered a ball with the legacy paddle. And like, I didn't even think about getting out of the way of it. And it just got like caught right in my between my arm and I didn't move an inch because I couldn't. Like, yeah, that thing is just a rocket ship. It really is.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what the deal is. But that thing is poppier than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of new paddles, teed up a listener question.
All right.
And I'm working on my my segue, so this is a perfect segue. I'm going to play it into the mic, and if we have to add it after, we will. But this is, so if you do have listener questions, DM us on Instagram. Just do like a little voice recording or send us a message or whatever. Or even just ask it like on the YouTube channel, and we'll try to get to them. But this one, you guys might recognize this voice. We've talked about this person who still is remaining anonymous at this point, but we'll play it.
Hey, what's up, Zane? It's Nick from Tropical. Got into a heated debate at the course this week with Gertrude, Bart, and Walter. Was talking about your paddle. They were trying to tell me it's pronounced ProXR, and I told them it's pronounced Proxer. Could you clear that up for everybody? Because I really want to stick it in Walter's face because he wouldn't drop it. So just let it Proxer or ProXR. Thanks, Zane.
Gotta love Tropical.
Yep.
Gotta love it. I think tropical. I think Gertrude is right. I actually don't know for sure. I'll go talk to my contact over there. I should probably figure that out at some point. How it's actually pronounced.
Wise, yeah.
But yeah, my guess would be Pro XR, but you definitely could be right.
But you do have a new paddle.
I do have a new paddle. That much is true.
And I believe it's available for sale now.
It is available for sale, Thomas, as of today. It's on Pickleball Central exclusively.
Okay.
It's on Pickleball Central and Proxer.com. Proxer Pickleball, ProXRPickleball.com. Yeah. This has been a long time coming. We've been working on it since I signed and back in October, end of October, and we turned it around really quickly. So I'm stoked. It's cool to already see some of these out and about, and I think it looks sexy.
Looks pretty sleek. You like that blue color? That's kind of been a theme for you over the past couple years. That's like your go-to.
I like the blue. It's the brand.
Can you buy it in other variations, color variations right now?
No, not right now. Right now, this is it. 14 millimeter. This, but I think we're working on other options as well. The nice part about working with Pro XR is we finish up one project and it's like, all right, what's next? Let's get working. Let's create some new stuff. So it's the job is never done, especially in something like paddles where every day there's a new innovation, and we're already looking at what is how to make it even better. So,
well, when they came onto the scene, their whole thing was like the different handle, and there was some sort of benefit to that. But now they're kind of doing more of the traditional looking paddles, kind of following the wave.
Yeah. They have handle technology that they've taken over from baseball, which is basically like an angled handle. So that way, when you're swinging through, your hand doesn't actually
come off the paddle.
It doesn't. When you are rotating your wrist through the ball, whether that's a racket or a baseball bat, there's some interaction between your hand and a standard grip that basically results in inefficiency.
Okay.
Right? Your hand doesn't rotate perfectly efficiently over the grip. And they've taken that technology from baseball to pickleball. For me, I'm using a standard grip because I think that they realize that this is something that's a little bit different, right? People might look at that and just instinctively be like, I don't know, I don't want to try it because it's different, right? Even though there is value to it, you're selling to the type of person that's willing to take that risk. And not everybody is, even if it could help their game. For me, I'm not utilizing the handle because I have very extreme grip changes where in the course of a point, I'll change my grip 180 degrees. And so for me, that results...
Wait, explain that. So for me, I use semi-Western at the baseline. As soon as I'm inside the baseline, I go continental. Like, how do you...
That's what I do. So I'm semi-Western at the baseline. I change to continental at the net. But you're forgetting about the tomahawk where you change it over. So
is that for like the scorp?
No. So this is if you're watching, this is semi-Western. It's basically like if you set your paddle on the ground and you pick it up by placing your hand directly on top of it.
Okay.
That's semi-Western.
Yeah.
Continental is that
Hammer.
shake hands.
Hammer.
Right? And then when I'm up at the kitchen and somebody hits a floating ball to my backhand, I'll change the grip over the other way to hit this.
Oh, yeah.
tomahawk.
You and DJ love that.
Oh, yeah. And Jeff Warnick.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Yeah, he does everything differently. He's got nothing normal. I am seeing that tomahawk more and more. Lately.
Who else are you seeing it from?
Mostly you and DJ, but every once in a while you catch a glimpse of somebody pulling it off, and then people see it in like on Instagram and stuff, and then they want to try it in person, and it's interesting. I don't know.
So that's the shot that everybody is going to use to hit high backhands. When pickleball is a solved game, if you have time and the ball is above your, we'll say we'll say chest. Ball's above your chest. Everybody is going to be hitting that shot 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why.
But how do you change your grip that fast? I mean,
I don't know. You got to get used to it.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to identify it and get used to it.
You have to be anticipating it almost.
Not necessarily. I use it most of the time. Well, I use it when I have time, right? And a lot of times that means somebody has floated a third shot drop to me and I have time to adjust, or we're in a hands exchange and they pop something up and it's over to my backhand side. I'll flip it over.
Yeah.
But here's the number one reason why you should be tomahawking. All right. Okay. If I'm using a continental grip, right? My hand is in front of the grip, right? And this will be a social clip, so you'll have to see this. My hand is basically in front of the grip. So if I'm making a straight line here, my paddle is even with this other hand. Mm-hmm. But then when I switch over the grip, only by switching over the grip and not moving, now my paddle is 4 or 5 inches further. Mm-hmm. What could you do with 4 or 5 inches of reach, additional inches, right? Additional inches are great. But so when that ball is coming and floating to you, not only can you snap your wrist more effectively, but you also are able to catch that ball further into the kitchen. Right. And that's the number one reason for using that tomahawk.
Okay.
So, all right. Anyway, I'm passionate about it.
Facebook.
My tomahawk kind of sucks right now.
Yeah.
But
we're working on it.
We'll work on it. It's additional reach.
Facebook's going to love that little excerpt there. That's right up their alley. All right, we got another one for you. This one's from Memes of Pickleball. Question for Zane. And we won't read the caveat. During MLP, would it be a stretch to say that Matt could have done better playing with Lucy as a Team Clean's men's partner rather than Matt playing with you? And was there any anti-harassment training initiated by Team Clean ownership following his bullying of you in Mesa?
Honestly, Thomas, I think Matt probably could have done better playing with you. So Lucy, for sure. Yeah, I didn't have my best MLP back in Mesa, but we'll come out strong next time. But
so follow up, and on that note, what adjustments would you two feel like you have to make in partnership, like to improve when you're playing in Daytona, other than just putting on a hat? Because Hat Zane don't play.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hat's a big key, of course, but I think all of our matches we lost like 22-20. So it really was only a handful of points here and there, which sucks. But I don't know. I didn't think Matt was too mean to me. I didn't cry for that. Like I only cried for a couple minutes, so it was fine. So I genuinely didn't understand that meme. Yeah. Like and normally the memes are pretty.
Explain that. I don't think I had seen it.
There was like that clip from the Super Bowl where one of the guys was crying. There's some guy crying in the Super Bowl. I don't know why, but the meme.
Oh yeah,
along the lines of like
it was one of the coaches. Yeah,
Zane after Matt Wright with at MLP.
Yeah.
Unless he was like really eye rolling the crap out of me when I wasn't looking and I didn't see it. Like I don't think there was any issue.
Do you go back and watch most of your matches?
I probably should, but I don't.
Do you what percentage do you say you watch back?
0.
Really?
I don't watch too much. No, I don't, but okay. I should.
This is like how you don't reply to comments and stuff on social media.
Correct.
Some things you got to do. Okay.
Post and ghost.
As your brand manager, you got to make some slight tweaks here.
Post and ghost, man.
One of the tips I would give you as your brand manager is Hat Zane plays. Okay. People were big fans of that. People were saying you looked buff. You looked jacked in the live stream comments.
It's because I am jacked. So what's funny is I noticed that for some reason the hat I feel like makes my neck look a lot thicker. And I don't know.
Whatever shirt you were wearing. So watch back and figure out what shirt that was. Wear that again.
So you think I'm ripped?
It said Zane got the PPA makeover.
All right, I don't know what that means.
It's good for the brand,
but
you could play into it.
We got people talking about it.
Zane's been pumping on 2.5 pound dumbbells. That was one of the comments.
Damn right.
Yeah, it's paying off. People can tell.
There are a lot of good comments on here.
Yeah.
Zane.
Dude, the live streams, they're so much fun to get into the mix. I love it.
Zane Havratil was one of them.
Yeah.
It makes me look taller, apparently. Let's see.
Yeah, taller, more jacked. Looked like you put on some weight. He looks good, !
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to DM that person.
Yeah.
Zane Navhatil is here to stay.
Yep. There was another funny meme. And, you were brimming with confidence.
Pun, no, I didn't even catch that one.
Nice, right? Good dad joke there.
That one. Look at that.
Good dad joke.
I think it's here to stay.
Bring it back the hat?
Yeah,
was it a Pro XR hat?
It was a Pro XR
hat. A Proxer hat?
I think it's called Pro XR, but
okay.
Again, we'll confirm with them.
I don't know. I kind of like Proxer. Pro XR makes me say too many syllables. Just more work.
I'll talk to my people.
Yeah. All right. I got a random question for you.
I love this. I like where this is going.
So in pickleball, I've met some very interesting people who are like the top like one or two people you've met through pickleball that you just never thought you would be in a room with, or maybe you've like developed a friendship with, or you've had like an interesting scenario or encounter with.
I'm going to tell you about my very first friend that I made in Austin.
Okay.
You know Skender?
No.
He actually works over with the Bainbridge Pickleball Club at the Founders.
I
spot.
do. Yeah, I was emailing with a Skender. Yeah. Right.
How do you not remember some guy named Skender?
It's just email. I remember now.
You remember now. So anyway, Jenny and I moved here on July 1st, and it's July 2nd. We don't have a bed. We don't have anything in our apartment. We have no food. I'm liming down the street to go get some tacos.
Oh, you're a lime guy? Birds.
Wow.
Strictly bird.
No.
Birded here.
Boy. Anyway, I'm liming because lime is the superior scooter to go get tacos. And this guy, I'm stopped at a red light. This guy just yells out at me. He goes, "You're Zane." And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And then so I says like, yeah. He's like, "You don't know me." I'm like, "No, I don't."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm Skender."
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yep. Right.
And so I was just like, how many more statements are you gonna make? Or like, is there a question? Like, what's going on? I'm just trying to get my tacos, homie. And he's like, so he stops me. He's like, "Well, what are you doing in Austin?" I was like, I just moved here. He's like, "Oh, well, I'll hit you up." I was like, "Okay. How are you planning on doing that? Like, you don't have my number. You got nothing." So I was like, all right, shoot me an Instagram message. And I don't think anything of it. I go get my tacos. Big fan of Velvet Taco. You don't like it?
Another disagreement. Yeah, no.
Right.
Too much going on in those tacos.
Oh, spare me.
It's drunk food.
I didn't say I wasn't drunk. So a couple days go by and I get this Instagram message from somebody that I have like one mutual like follower. It's a message request too. I've never messaged with this person before. It's from some lady's account, and I read through it, and Skender had messaged me on Instagram through his friend's account because he doesn't have Instagram.
Okay.
And he shot me his number.
Yeah.
And we've been hanging out ever since.
Oh, you guys are best friends now.
Yeah, exactly. We're homies now.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, he's a super interesting guy. He works in pickleball here in Austin. Very go with the flow guy. Good buddies with Darius from over at the Founders Club.
Yep.
And so he's one of the more interesting people.
Got it.
What about yourself?
It's a good question. I mean, like, okay, so playing pickleball with Kevin Durant was pretty like absurd. A lot of people kind of in that like Hollywood world, right, who are gravitating toward pickle. But I would say I'm just friends with the most random assortment of people from like young to old,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's broadened my relationships age-wise. The age of my average friend has just like
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
The mean age of your friends has before and after pickleball has probably changed. It's been 30 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same.
Do people? So Skender just like saw you in the street. Does that happen? How often does that happen to you? Where people see you when you're just like out and about, and they recognize you? Does that happen to you? Is it happening more?
It's definitely happening more.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe once a week. There's some random person that I
That's
don't
pretty
know
good. Yeah.
I'll say hey.
And
So,
if one person is actually like communicating with you that they know you, or there's probably a handful more that are like seeing you and going like, oh, there's Zane, but like not saying anything to you. You don't realize.
yeah, maybe. I hadn't really thought of that, but it is cool. It's a testament to pickleball where some of us are, I'm not a Ben or an Anna Lee or a Tyson McMuffin. So I'm sure that those guys are getting stopped a whole lot more than once a week if that's the case.
Yeah, probably Tyson a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. That mullet.
Yeah.
Do you know he's going to be sponsored by McDonald's?
Actually?
Yeah, they're going to make him a bacon, egg, and cheese McGuffin.
That'd be so good.
A bacon.
Or
what do you
like
think?
like Otis, whatever that like like bakery brand, do like an actual muffin, like a Tyson McMuffin. But then it has to be like McDonald's because the Mick.
What do you think if McDonald's was to make Tyson a signature sandwich?
Yeah.
What do you
like
think?
The Travis Scott thing.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think maybe like Bieber did one.
What do you think would be on a Tyson McGuffin McMuffin?
A lot of protein. Yeah, it'd be like bacon and like the sausage patty. So it'd be like the double up.
And I think there's got to be some like
signature sauce.
Yes, it's got to be spicy. Yeah. It's got to be something to make your mustache sweat. Like, yeah, it's got to be enough to make you sweat your mullet.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
So I think we're going with biscuit, with hot sauce, bacon, and sausage.
I like it.
That's the McGuffin signature.
All right.
Anyway, how do we get here?
I don't know. I asked you who are the most interesting people you've met, and then who have you met. So, is there anybody else on that list besides Skender? Which, by the way, great name again.
Great name. Yeah, I've
nickname.
Spent a couple of.
Zane is a very marketable name.
It's a different name. It's a different name.
What's your middle name?
Dennis. It's my dad's name.
Yeah, really. Switching that over, we go from Zane to Dennis.
Yeah, but Thomas is dope too.
Yeah. What's my middle name is? Wagner.
I kind of like that.
A little different. Yeah.
I like that.
It's Finnish.
Wagner's more of a last name.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one of my best friends growing up was last name Wagner.
So let's see. I'm sure there's a million very interesting people. I mean, I know I've met a bunch of people. It's tough to think of off the top of my head. Yeah, I'd say that being looped into some of that Hollywood group and other.
Yeah, it's like,
other
why
athletes.
am I in this circle right now? Like, why am I in this text chain?
For sure. It's definite imposter syndrome.
Yeah, you sure you want to talk to me?
I can't believe I have this person's number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
do you mark all your pickleball contacts with like pickleball or pickle?
Yep. They are all even people like Althoff and Andrea and Sincola, like my best buddies.
So let's do this. This is what we're doing right now.
They're all marked PB Althoff merchant.
So pull up all your PB contacts.
Oh God.
And we'll read the most interesting ones. We'll go
dude, this is gonna be
we'll go contact for contact, okay?
Oh boy.
So we got Trop Pickleball.
There you go. Let's see. I'll go through this.
Doug Ellen, the creator of Entourage. Everybody knows him. He's kind of in the world now.
I've got David Comey. David Comey, the attorney that rocks. Jamie. He's on buses all over the Austin area.
Really?
Yeah, he's the attorney that rocks.
Who's the other big attorney? Thomas Henry. He's like on all the commercials.
Thomas Henry's trash. Trash.
Try it. Should we get an affiliate with David Comey?
I don't know. I don't know how that works. But
I don't know. Like, what's a typical attorney fee? It's at least like $10,000.
Bernie Lee came to Austin, and he was on the World Series of Poker. He was a top finisher. He came to Austin. We did some lessons together.
Yeah, I've got Althoff in here. Which, by the way, every once in a while I get a text from Althoff, and we haven't talked in forever. They're always phenomenal. One time he was like, "I'm getting engaged tonight." I was like, that's awesome. Like,
put it on.
I'm so happy to be a part of your life.
Put it on the dink.
Yeah.
Put it on. And you did.
Yeah.
You did put it on the
we
dink.
did. We did a little article in the newsletter because he took her to a Rascal Flatts concert. And like, I think they were going to propose, like, he was going to propose like mid concert. Maybe he did. I don't remember like how it worked, but he did.
It was a UBS sort of private client event. And yeah, they played this song that's kind of like their song. Althoff, I have to give Althoff some props because before that, he was talking about how he was going to propose to her on Sing Zang Court at the U.S. Open. I was like, homie.
Dude.
Homie.
Listen.
If you want her to say yes, don't do that. And so he listened, I guess. But I got Danny Werfel's number.
I'm looking at his right now. Yep.
Cool dude. Donald Driver.
Won a Heisman Trophy.
Donald Driver.
He was a football player.
Yeah.
Right? Giants.
Packers, homie. Come on. Packers.
Giants. He was on the Giants for a little bit.
I don't know if he was on the Giants. He's known as the Packers receiver. But he's actually a Texas and Wisconsin guy, and he's putting together a golf and pickleball event. Which hopefully,
I haven't gotten my invite yet, so
we'll see if we can.
See if you can swing that one.
Find some space for you.
I think my Instagram DMs are way more interesting.
I would think so.
I was sitting in my house, like with my dad's house in Michigan with like some of his buddies, and I get a DM, and I'm just sitting there, and I go, guys, I just got a DM from Jamie Foxx, and it was a voice recording of Jamie talking about like how he's going to beat Larry Fitzgerald. I'm like, why is Jamie Foxx DMing me a voice recording right now? And again, it's not me, right? It's the Dink account, but still pretty funny.
That's still pretty sweet. Yeah, it is super cool to see how involved Jamie is in his pickleball brand. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool to see. He seems really passionate about it.
Yeah.
The best paddle.
Pretty absurd. Yeah. I wish he had partnered with me on that. It would have been a good one, too, man.
I know. I'm sure you can find people way better.
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
I'm still waiting for an invite from a better podcast. So
yeah.
But although,
yeah. All right. Well, I think we've been going for just over an hour. So this is, we're like perfect timing, but another episode of PicklePod. Okay. Agreement with the listeners. Comment on the YouTube, leave a review. We're going to send a poll over to somebody who does. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And DM us your like questions, comments, and maybe eventually, how about this? Like, whoever's the most consistent commenter and whoever consistently interacts with us in our like podcast content, we're going to bring you on.
Oh, wow.
On a show, on an episode, and we're going to talk to you.
And feel free to keep fact checking us too. It really helps the engagement.
No, I
think we should just keep saying wrong stuff so people comment.
Purely conjecture always. Take everything we say with a grain of salt and do microwave your paddles.
Somebody's actually going to do that.
Yeah.
I think somebody's actually going to do it. Videotape it. Yeah. If somebody does happen to actually do that, which we're not recommending.
Yeah, we're not recommending, but maybe we are.
Anyway, that seems like a good ending point.
Yeah. That's Pickleball.